We're pleased to be checking in with James Marathis, Executive Director of the Quincy Housing Authority, for an update on how the authority's coping during these challenging times, and also some information for Housing Authority residents. So, Mr. Marathis, nice to see you again.
Nice to see you, Joe, also.
Yeah, appreciate it. I think last time we chatted, you were in a parking lot somewhere unloading packaged meals for folks.
Very, very possible.
How are things at the Housing Authority?
Things are good, thank God. We've been very, very fortunate. We received some of the CARES funding, and we've been able to add quite a bit of staff, extra staff on hand. So we're doing a lot of sanitizing and a lot of cleaning every day in all of our properties, which has been extremely beneficial. So I'm confident that what we're doing is working, thank God.
Yeah, I know that at the outset of the pandemic, there was a lot of concern about a rapid spread of the virus. What's the situation now?
It had started out pretty scary. We started having individual confirmed cases in different properties, and that's when we kind of put a task force together and really tried to hit the buildings hard. And at this current time, we only have one case, and that's in a family unit. It's not even in an elderly building. Right now, all the elderly buildings, thank God, are clear. And I think we're extremely fortunate that the conditions have been what they've been, because we've been maintaining close communication with the Quincy Public Health Nurse and the Quincy Health Department, and that has helped tremendously. Early detection and being able to get out there, and we've bought fogging machines, and we fog the buildings every week. We hit all the buildings and all the common areas with fogging and a sanitizing solution. And every day we spend countless hours sanitizing every single door handle in the entire building, as well as bathrooms, flooring, elevators, common areas touched. I mean, we really, I don't think the properties have ever been cleaner.
Sure. Yeah, it's probably the case for a lot of areas. Things that hopefully will last, post-pandemic. I'm sure we're learning as we go here.
Scary times for sure.
Indeed, yeah. What is the policy now for your tenants in terms of social distancing, face mask wearing, when they're on the properties?
So we have a tremendous amount of signage throughout all the properties. We've asked the tenants to maintain social distancing and maintain 6 feet away from any other tenant. We require face masks anywhere in common areas, anywhere in the buildings. We've closed the community rooms. We just recently extended that closing until March of 2021.
Wow.
We have the flu coming, and we also have the pandemic. And even if they get a vaccine, I think we're looking at March as a true indicator of when things could change. So we've gone ahead and closed those. We've also had the administrative offices working remotely for several months, and we're back now in the administrative offices, but we're closed to the public. Along with that came a tremendous amount of IT changes. We've had to upgrade a ton of equipment and do a lot of technology advancements to be able to serve our residents and be able to serve applicants, doing so without meeting with them. So there's been a lot of changes going on over the last few months.
Sure. How are you handling, say, visitations and deliveries, things like that?
For a while, we had no visitation. We had a policy that no visitors were allowed. We do allow visitors now. Obviously, we keep an eye on the hallways and make sure that anyone entering the building has a face covering on. We've allowed the tenants to actually have visitors, but we discourage them from meeting in large groups and try to keep it to very close family and friends, and not expose themselves to a lot of folks. And we send out letters routinely, monthly, kind of reminding them of the procedures and where we are with the pandemic. We try to keep them updated, even though it's on the news and it's everywhere. You can't get away from this thing, but we just continuously try to update folks and tell them how important it is. Plus, we have our maintenance guys going in and out of the units, so it's important for us to protect our staff. Also, God forbid one of our staff should get it. We were in a situation at the very beginning that one of our staff did get it, and we had like 20-something people out on quarantine for 2 weeks. That presents real challenges.
Well, right, yeah.
Right, because
when you need them the most, right?
Right, right. And plus, we still have to get out there and do the work that needs to be done. So we need to make sure the tenants have masks on when the employees are going into the units, and they got to follow. We have a protocol for doing work orders that, they're required to wear gloves, and they're required to sanitize before entering a unit and after and when they complete the work order in a unit. And we've got all policies and procedures in place. And I think this is going to be around for a while.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. Are you still able to have new tenants, intake new residents to the housing authority?
We are. We've been leasing up every unit that becomes vacant. I mean, we that's the one thing that hasn't slowed down is the turnovers of the vacants continue to come, and we continue to turn them over. And the demand for housing is such that it's. I mean, we'll never be able to satisfy the demand.
Right.
The demand is increasing every day, and I don't expect things to get any better. The amount of foreclosures that are happening out there, and the amount of backlog that the courts have with foreclosures and evictions. And I think the next year or 2 years we're preparing for the worst. I think that the housing situation is going to become critical over the next year to 2 years.
Yeah. Do you think the requirements to be eligible for public housing will change because of that?
Well, a big change happened for us a year ago, Joe. The state changed the way that waiting lists were being monitored by housing authorities, and they created a statewide waiting list called CHAMP, CHAMP, and that waiting list is the priorities are set by the state. So the hardest thing for us is when somebody says, where am I on the waiting list? I can't really answer that anymore. Like for this, I would be able to answer that question and tell you exactly where you were and kind of give you an idea on when you were going to be housed.
Mm-hmm.
Problem now is the waiting list is a state mandated waiting list. This is only on the state side, though. The federal side, we still control our own waiting list.
Okay.
On the state side, the way the priorities work is it works by fire, flood, domestic abuse, displaced because of taking of their property, or there are all different priorities, fire, flood. These priorities involve the whole state. So whereas we were getting a lot more local people before, the list could change every day. If you have a fire out in Worcester and it displaces 100 people, those 100 people are going to rise to the top of the list for all the housing authorities.
I see.
So it's more of a state waiting list now than it is a local housing authority waiting list. Again, the state side, though, the federal side, it's still local preference, and we've managed to change our preferences on the federal side to try to balance what has happened to still be serving the residents of Quincy and local residents.
So would an applicant have to apply twice then for the state or federal?
They do. They actually have to apply 3 times, really. Oh. If they want to get on all the waiting lists, they need to apply for the Section 8 waiting list,
Okay.
the federal public housing waiting list, and then the state public housing waiting list.
Wow. Okay. That is that's a full-time job right there. Just muddling through all that.
Yeah, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work for applicants. We're trying to streamline that process also. We're investing a tremendous amount of money this year, and we're creating kiosks that are going to be located in every one of our properties. As well as here at Tobin Towers, we're going to expand the lobby and put in 3 or 4 kiosks.
Mm-hmm.
People will be able to come in and apply right online, right from the kiosk, without having to see any of our employees, and they'll be able to do it right from the lobby of any one of our buildings.
Okay.
That same kiosk will service the residents on their annual certification when they need to provide documents to the housing authority. They'll be able to scan them and copy them right in the lobby and send them right to the employee that they want to send them to. So hopefully that will kind of help with the social distancing and still be able to get the work done that needs to get done.
Yeah. Do you anticipate any changes in the certification process due to the pandemic?
I don't really. We still have to, by regulation, we still have to certify and recertify our tenants every year. Mm-hmm. Our staff's been extremely busy because anytime there's a rent change, anytime there's an income change, there's a rent change. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of interims, what we call, when people are coming to the housing authority and saying, look, we lost our job, we're unemployed, so a tremendous amount of interim work has been being done with almost every applicant. because they're working less, or they're laid off or collecting unemployment. A lot of the stimulus money didn't qualify for income.
Mhm.
They allowed a lot of that to not be considered on the income side. So they've been busy. The staff's been extremely busy.
I see that. Yeah. Is there public Wi-Fi access in your properties, Mr. Marathis?
We do have Wi-Fi in the properties. It's not so much public as we've advertised that it's public.
Right.
We do have Wi-Fi, but no, we haven't set up Wi-Fi for all the tenants.
Okay, because I know that's an issue sometimes, access, especially if there are students trying to learn remotely. I'm sure that's a
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Let's talk a little bit, if we can, about a merger, I guess, or a collaboration that you have had between other housing authorities in the area.
So the Quincy Housing Authority is currently operating two management agreements. We have a management agreement with the Hingham Housing Authority, and we have a management agreement with the Marshfield Housing Authority. So in essence, what that means is the Quincy Housing Authority is now managing the Hingham and Marshfield Housing Authorities.
Huh.
Our staff are assigned to perform certain tasks in those housing authorities. And what it does is it does two things. One, for those smaller agencies, it gives them a tremendous amount of resources, which they never had before. So we could have a small agency where it would have like 1 or 2 employees. They now have exposure to 80 plus employees. So where they never had an electrician, and they never had a plumber, and they never had a plasterer or a painter, or now all of the trades, those smaller agencies can take advantage of the trades that we have, and we can now go out and do that work for them and provide their residents with much better service and make tremendous improvements to the properties. And on the Quincy side, it tremendously helps us income-wise, being able to add more staff and being able to create more financial stability for the Quincy Housing Authority by entering into those agreements.
So essentially, so you are the director now for all 3 housing authorities, is that right?
Correct.
Okay. What happened to their directors? Was this what facilitated this change?
In these 2 specific cases, one of them was the executive director had left on medical reasons, and the other one, the executive director retired.
Oh.
Both housing authorities kind of labeled in the troubled area, according to the DHCD inspections that they had done. So they kind of reach out and they search larger agencies that have more potential. Back about a year ago, they passed a housing reform bill, and that housing reform bill kind of led smaller agencies to an option of management agreements versus having their own executive director. Because when you have a small agency, take Hingham, for instance, 125 units, you have one executive director, and that executive director is trying to do all the inspections, all the rent certifications, managing the maintenance department, taking care of all the waiting lists, taking care of applicants, reporting to DHCD, trying to do all of this as one person. It's kind of being set up to fail.
Right.
It's too much work for any one person. So that's why the management agreements with the larger agencies make so much sense when it comes to small agencies throughout the Commonwealth.
Okay, so more of a regional approach rather than a municipal approach.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
Does that put an extra burden on your system though here in Quincy?
No, actually, I think it's been extremely helpful. It's allowed us, like I said, to increase our staffing levels, increase our tools, and be better prepared. And it's really, the staff is really developing into being able to handle it. So it's been a good thing.
Yeah, well, you're no stranger to coming into troubled housing authorities. So certainly, not very long ago, Quincy was in the same shape.
Right. No, I can say that Quincy for the last 2 years has been given a rating of a high performing agency, and I can proudly say that things are much different here. The agency is nothing like the agency that it was. It's a completely different animal.
Yeah, let's talk about that if we can. Some of the improvements to the actual properties and some of the services that you've been able to bring to the tenants.
Sure. One of the big things that we've been focusing on, Joe, is supportive services. We've been fortunate enough to receive a grant from the state of Massachusetts, Massachusetts Department of Housing and Community Development, and that grant has enabled us to hire a family support coordinator. So in the past, we always had an elderly support coordinator. So we always had Judy Morris, who was kind of the liaison for elderly and disabled tenants, and she would make sure that they were getting food and make sure they were being taken care of and checked in on. And also she provided them with a huge amount of bridging services, bringing services to them that she felt that they needed or that they expressed that they needed. But we were always lacking in the family area because families they rent, they stay there, and they're kind of on their own, and we take care of the property, and there was never the money or the funding to be able to provide services to them that we did elderly tenants until recently. When we got this grant, we got what was called a regional family support coordinator, and we have that person now. Her name's Christine Cunningham. She is now working with the residents of Snug Harbor, Riverview, Hingham, and Marshfield as well. And what she's doing is trying to bridge families to some of the programs that we offer. So we've been really trying to develop the FSS program and the Ross program. And those are two programs that tenants can apply for. And they set out goals for themselves to reach self-sufficiency. So they may set goals that I'm going to go to school, I'm going to get a job, I'm going to, they want to buy a car, they want to buy a house. And what these programs do is they allow them to escrow a portion of their rent. So let's say their income goes up, and it goes up from $10,000 to $20,000, just to use easy numbers. That extra $10,000, a portion of that would get escrowed every year until they reach the goals that they've set for themselves. And once they reach those goals, they then get that money. So, to date, I know this sounds, to date, we've paid out $969,000 to tenants who have reached their goals.
Really?
And getting it out there and getting these people to participate is the hardest challenge, because one, they don't know about the program, and they don't understand that what the benefits could be to them. I'll give you one example. Mm-hmm. And this example is close to me because the tenant is just a phenomenal tenant. And she actually was the head of the Tenants Association for the last several years. She entered into the program, and just this month, she just purchased a brand new home, brand new in Plymouth.
Wow.
With the money that she's been able to save. So she's a single mom. She had a job. She escrowed all of her income increase. The housing authority puts it aside in a separate account for her. She reaches those goals. She gets that money. She's now single mom buying a brand new house in Plymouth. And that's a perfect example of the programs that we want to bring to the tenants and really get out there and develop that kind of encouragement for people to do better.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the ultimate goal is to get them off public assistance, right? And self-sufficient and on their own. Wow. How long has she been in public housing?
She's been here since I came to Quincy, and I think she was here for a while prior to that. So I'm going to probably say in the 10-year neighborhood.
Okay.
But she could not be happier, and we could not be happier for her.
That's a great story. That really is.
There's a lot of those stories to make up $969,000.
I was just going to say
$100,000. There's a lot of those stories. The average payout is just about $8,000 is the average payout of the program.
Okay.
But some people more, some people less. I mean, some people have gotten $30,000, $40,000 checks, and they've put it down on a home, and now they're no longer at the housing authority and moved out. I know of another one recently that bought in Bridgewater. So it's working.
Yeah. Is open to all the residents?
It's open to all of right now it's open to the federal family public housing tenants.
Okay.
So right now we're trying to apply for a grant under the state program to kind of do a similar thing on the state side.
Okay.
So it's a balance for us because half of our portfolio is federal public housing,
Right.
and our portfolio is state public housing.
Yeah.
On the federal public housing, we play by their rules and their guidelines, and then on the state side, we have to play by theirs. So it's kind of like operating two businesses all the time.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah. So how many would be eligible for that program right now?
Right now, it would be the 200, say 250 family residents would be eligible.
Mhm.
Section 8 tenants, which is another. Right now, we've got about 1,600 vouchers. We just increased our voucher count by adding 2 programs to the Section 8 department as well. We've really been focusing on expanding that department.
Mhm.
We added 2 programs. One is called VASH. It's a veterans program designed specifically to target veterans in need of housing.
Okay.
The other one is the mainstream program, which is kind of designed to target disabled local residents.
Okay. Okay. So, I mean, hopefully, maybe through this program or other means, they're learning about this, for the first time, and will reach out to you. Do they reach out to you directly, Mr. Marathis, if they have questions?
They could certainly reach out to me directly. I could point them in the right direction. Another development that we've been working on is we just came up with a totally new website. So that's www.quincyha.com. And a lot of this information is on that website. We've spent about a year developing the website so that the website would be helpful to applicants and to prospective people who wanted to apply for public housing.
Mhm.
Kind of walk them through the steps. And there's links on there to CHAMP and to Section 8 applications and to federal public housing applications, and a lot of Q&A, questions they may have and answers for them.
QuincyHA.com, right?
Correct. www.quincyha.com.
Okay, great. Not too long ago, I saw a picture of you in the Quincy Sun standing next to a brand new passenger van.
Yes. One of our other purchases, thanks to CARES, we purchased a handicap shuttle bus. It accommodates 12 people. The idea behind this was to kind of get people a little bit away from public transportation where they would be exposed to so many people and kind of do smaller groups targeting one building at a time. So we've just interviewed all of the drivers. We're putting together a schedule that we're going to be sending around to all the residents. And we're going to do daily trips from one building at a time. So like Monday would be Tobin Towers, Tuesday would be Sawyer Towers, Drowan, Pagnano, O'Brien, and kind of focus on bringing people to medical appointments, shopping, regular routine trips to the supermarket, and try to reduce down their dependency and their exposure to other folks during this pandemic.
Yeah, I know the T obviously has had to reduce service. Do you know, has that impacted your tenants at all?
Our tenants have been extremely fortunate through all of this. We've got some very, very strong relationships and some very, very I guess I want to say we have great partners. The Quincy Y has been a great partner to us, as well as Trader Joe's and the Boston Food Bank.
Mm-hmm.
So each one of our elderly tenants receives a free bag of groceries every month, which gets delivered to all of the buildings through the Boston Greater Food Bank. And then our staff go and deliver those to every tenant in every building. Along with that, the Quincy Y has been preparing hot lunches, hot dinners, and they've been delivering them to all of our buildings. And our staff, again, goes out and distributes those lunches and dinners to everyone. Between that and Trader Joe's, every Monday we get a delivery from Trader Joe's, a large truck delivery of all of their food that they would be turning over, let's say, but it's still fresh, still fine. It's just part of their program, and all of this food goes to use and is distributed amongst all of our buildings, and that happens every Monday. So we've really been supplying them with so much food. Some people say they have too much food, which is a great thing to hear.
Well, right, yeah.
But the deliveries and the partnerships have been tremendous, especially in a time like this.
Yeah, I know that wasn't the Quincy Farmers Market too having a special site just for residents.
We actually had a farmer's market set up at O'Brien Towers and
Right. Yep.
set up here at Tobin Towers. And those farmers markets were taking SNAP benefits, and somebody could go and buy $40 worth of groceries and end up with $80 worth of groceries.
Right.
So it was a huge benefit. But we've stopped those given what's been happening. And, hopefully we can resume those again.
Sure. How about operational facility improvements that you'd like to share with us in terms of
There's no end in sight.
I bet, yeah.
Joe, it has been years and years of just one thing after another, after another, after another.
Yeah.
We're now on to the point that we just replaced all the roofs in all the high-rise buildings.
Wow. Okay.
We got one more roof left to do, which is Tobin Towers, which we're going to do this year. And now we're on to rebuilding elevators. So we're going to be putting new elevators in O'Brien Towers, Pagnano Towers, and Tobin Towers, all starting in January.
Okay.
We're also going to be adding 5 new handicap units down at O'Brien Towers. That goes into construction next month. And we're just finishing up flooring projects where we've replaced all of the common area flooring in every building. And we're Drowan Apartments and Pagnano are the only 2 buildings left, which were both under construction right now. So it never ends.
Yeah, and of course, have to keep in mind this is all happening during a pandemic. So even the people doing the work, have to take all the safety protocols while they're doing their job. Yeah,
those are the challenges. When you go home at the end of the night, you're exhausted, thinking about all of the protocols and what you have to do, and having a mask on all day, and taking precautions, and it almost feels like you're constantly under attack.
Yeah,
trying to get the job done.
Yeah. How did you handle the election? Just curious how that was handled.
We had 2 voting. We had O'Brien Towers and Sawyer Towers that were both voting spots. We went in the day before. We fogged both areas. We treated them heavily, sanitized them heavily, and did thorough cleanings of both locations. So I think things overall went fantastic.
Sure. Yeah, it was a record turnout in Massachusetts.
Yeah, the turnout. Still no answer yet, but the turnout was incredible.
As of this taping, yeah.
And we don't even know if the answer is going to be the answer.
It's just another thing in 2020. That's
another thing to exhaust all of us, right?
Talk to me a little bit, if you can, about an adult daycare facility that's happening next year.
So we have partnered with Rainbow Adult Healthcare, which they operate a facility now in Quincy.
Oh.
And they are going to be building a state-of-the-art facility at O'Brien Towers. They are going to be turning the O'Brien Towers community room into a modern-day facility with gym equipment, fitness equipment, staffed with a nurse every day, massage chairs, gaming rooms. They're going to be putting in a big addition on the back of the building, and they're going to have a 3-season sun porch.
Really?
They are going to have a state-of-the-art facility down there, which we're going to be going into construction in 2021, and that will service the residents of O'Brien Towers as well as all the other buildings. So there'll be shuttles traveling between all of our properties all day long, picking up people and dropping them off and having them be part of this adult healthcare facility. Again, once COVID's lifted and things can go back to somewhat normal.
Right, yeah. How is that being funded, Ms. Marathas?
They're funding the construction.
Okay.
And then they've entered into a lease agreement with the Quincy Housing Authority.
Okay. All right. Are you concerned at all about, the state doesn't even know what its budget's going to look like. Never mind,
Well, we just got our budget guidelines.
Oh, you did? Okay. Do tell.
We just got our budget guidelines, and unfortunately there is a 4% reduction in our funding for the upcoming year, which I think is going to kind of be offset by some of the CARES funding. So I think it's kind of going to be status quo. I think I see things as going to be okay. 2021 is going to be a really big year for us, though, because we're currently working on one of the biggest things we have going on is kind of restructuring the federal public housing portfolio. So right now, the federal public housing portfolio is owned by HUD, and the Quincy Housing Authority manages that portfolio. In 2021, we are attempting to convert that federal public housing to property owned by the Quincy Housing Authority. So the Quincy Housing Authority would take ownership of what we used to manage.
Mhm.
So that would include Riverview, O'Brien Towers, Pagnano, and Drowan Apartments. Those are all federal properties.
Okay.
The Quincy Housing Authority is going through a program called RAD. And that program through HUD would convert the ownership of all of that property from HUD to the Quincy Housing Authority. So we then not only manage it, but we will own it. And it will change the way that the tenants are handled and the way the application process going forward. It would move into our Section 8 platform. So every tenant living in those buildings would be given a Section 8 voucher,
Mhm.
would stay with that building. But then the housing authority would receive Section 8 rental payments
Oh,
rather than federal public housing payments.
okay.
So we would be taking in much more money, and we
Oh.
would have much more capital, and it would really stabilize the financial situation of the housing authority for it forever. It would really change the way things, it'd be more of a private management company than it
Mhm.
would be so much a federal public housing entity.
Yeah, but would it not also increase your costs, operational insurance, liability, things like that?
No, we pay all that now.
Oh, okay.
So it wouldn't really change any of our operational costs, other than obviously we'd have to restructure.
Yeah.
We've been, over the last few years, I've kind of been building up to this. So we've been kind of expanding our Section 8 department, and we've kind of been restructuring our organizational chart to prepare for taking ownership of this property. So it would just mean that we would be more responsible for delegating how much money gets put aside for future capital need, how much money gets used for operations. A lot of those decisions would now fall on the housing authority, whereas before they were kind of reviewed and guidelined by HUD.
Okay.
But we also would have more money to work with. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I think truly we've been really preparing for this since I came here, because we've been doing so much work to the portfolio that we're getting the portfolio into such a great shape that taking ownership of it is going to be a real positive thing. Other housing authorities that do this,
Mhm.
they bring in a private partner to partner with them, because the properties need so much capital infused into it. We're in a situation that our projects don't need capital infused into them.
Okay.
So we're going to be in a much, much better situation on this conversion.
Okay. So you've been improving the property value that you're going to own for the past 2 years.
We've been working hard at it.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, interesting. Is this something new?
No, it's been around for a while. HUD is really encouraging housing authorities to go this way. They're kind of trying to get people out of the federal public housing platform and more into a Section 8 streamlined process.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So HUD encourages this, and the housing authority, we collectively, the Board of Commissioners and the administration, we see this as a very, very positive thing.
Sure. All right. That's something else to look forward to next year. We all need
Something else to look forward to.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on at Quincy Housing Authority.
It certainly sounds that way. Yeah. We haven't even
It
touched
is.
on other improvements or services. But I would like to ask you for some good ways for folks to reach out if they do have questions or concerns.
Well, certainly they could reach out directly to me by email.
Okay.
It's J Marathas, MARATHAS @quincyha.com. And again, use the website, www.quincyha.com. All the resources are on there. Our contacts, our staff listing is on there, and it has a listing of all the departments and all the staff and how to reach them. So
Anything else you think we should touch on right now?
let's just wait. Hold our breath for the election. Hold our breath for the election and keep sanitizing.
Exactly. Yeah. That'll be
That's
the theme of 2020, I think, is,
Yeah. That's going to keep us busy.
exactly.
That is definitely going to keep us busy.
Really appreciate your time, Mr. Morath. This has been great.
Joe, always a pleasure.
Likewise, please, if we can be of any help here at QATV, please reach out. We can certainly get messages up on our system for your tenants as well. I'd be happy to do that for you.
I appreciate that, and try to enjoy your holidays.
Thank you. Likewise. Take care.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.